This is the Morning Swim Show for Tuesday, December 11th, 2012. I'm your host, Jeff Cummings. David Guthrie was on a record-breaking spree last week in San Antonio, resetting his 3 Masters World Records in the breaststroke events and helping Longhorn Masters set 2 medley relay records. And David joins us right now in the Finis Monitor from Houston. David, good to see you. How are you today?
Good to see you. I'm doing great.
I'm sure you are. Congratulations. Three individual world records, 2 relay world records. I mean, you've been in Masters for a while. This has got to be up there in one of your top meets.
It is. This has been the best year ever. I started kind of tallying up the records, and I've never had a year like this. So
yeah, we'll talk about all of that in just a second. Before we go on with your world records, I want to kind of get your perspective on another record breaker from last week, Kevin Cordes, 51.3 100-yard breast, 150.7 200-yard breast. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
yes, what we're doing is it's a completely different sport. I mean, that's just mind-boggling. His upside is huge. He's still really young. I think he's still 19. It's just going to be amazing what the record books are going to look like when he's through with them. And he's not alone. I mean, there's a whole crop of guys right there. It's really exciting to watch.
I think I could speak for you and other breaststrokers in Masters and say that I hope he doesn't swim Masters.
No, that's the rearview mirror is important. You see who's coming up, like Steve West. He's just making shambles of anything that I've ever done. So it's motivating for me to try to give him at least a little bit of a challenge by the time he gets, down the road.
Well, but you're setting the bar pretty high for yourself, though.
That's what it's all about, is to see what we can do ourselves. We can't control what anybody else does, and there are a lot of guys out there in my age group who don't always show up. When they do, it gets crowded. There's a lot of competition. A lot of guys capable going fast. So I'm just, it was a good year. They didn't show up this year for the most part.
Well, yeah, like I said, you had
Rich Schroeder had some really good swims.
Right.
He spec, which is great to see.
Well, Richard Schroeder doesn't really do the 200, which is kind of your best event. So that I think you'll probably feel pretty happy about that. So let's talk about those records from last weekend: 30.73 and 106.8 in the 50 and 100 breast, and these are all short course meters. But it was the 225.70, I think, was the standout swimmer in the meet. You dropped 3 seconds off your world record in the 50 to 54 age group. So why, like I said, you're more of a 200 swimmer, but why was your 200 so much better than your sprint breaststrokes at that meet?
I hate to make excuses, but I was just not 100%. I swam pretty fast about 3 weeks ago at the Woodlands meet, and I got the 200 record there. I was at 26. So I was swimming well. I knew I was, ready to go. My 150 were just a little bit off of those records, but for being unrested, I knew I was ready to go. But Wednesday, I had a hip injury, and I wasn't even sure I could drive over to San Antonio, much less swim. So, it just kind of changed everything. So I was just really thankful to be able to get those records without being 100%.
Was this an injury that was kind of threatening to keep you out of the pool at all?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where you couldn't bend over to brush my teeth. Really painful, lower back. It's a hip thing. It's the TFL that holds the top of the femur in place. When that gets kind of jacked, then a lot of bad things can happen. So your hip has a lot of range of motion. It's a complex joint that's connected to a lot of major muscle groups. When that thing goes wrong, it's a problem. But fortunately, I didn't have to really bend over to swim. So I
had to bend over to do your starts, though.
Exactly, but that was about it. And that's actually how I heard it. Just putting a lot of pressure on it in training, doing a bunch of starts. But I got some kind of emergency treatment by an amazing physical therapist. She got it back in place for me. It was still sore, but it wasn't, out of place. It wasn't creating a problem.
Well,
but it just,
I
you
would
know,
imagine though that this puts everything kind of motivates you for next year, knowing that you weren't 100%.
you better believe it. You know, when I got into this age group, they had just banned the suits, and all of my records from before had pretty much been wiped out. And getting into this new age group, I wasn't for 2 years. I wasn't even, for long course, I wasn't even close. I had to change what I was doing. It was kind of discouraging to, to not have low hanging fruit. But now, for the first time in this age group, I look at those times as low hanging fruit. I'm coming back for more. So.
Well, 2012, as you said, is probably one of your better years in Masters. You set two long course world records. What has been the catalyst for you this year to help you swim so fast?
I started training. I completely changed my training, and for several years I'd been training on my own with a couple of kind of informal training partners, but no coach, no real team. And I just realized I'm not getting any close to these records. I've got to do something different. And honestly, I was doing training where I never did anything unpleasant, never did anything that I didn't want to do. So you just can't get there that way, especially long course. So last spring, I switched programs. I joined the Rice Aquatics Masters, and they are, there's no Masters minute. They're all business, and I got in shape. So
basically, you got people around you holding you accountable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenging program. When I first started, I was not anywhere near the fast lane. I was in the middle and just kind of had to get used to that kind of training again. And, once I got over the hump, I had a good taper for long course. I needed a lot of rest off of what I had done. But coming back after long course, I was, I'd already adapted to the training, so I could just sort of pick up where I left off. So I had, pretty high expectations for the short course season. But, I owe it all to that program, to Seth and the other coaches there, and my teammates there. They're so much fun to swim with, and it's available. You can work as hard as you want to work, and it's the key, no question.
Well, I definitely believe that would probably help you out a lot. Do you feel like with the team that you're now not just having someone there to race with you, but like you said, you're just basically not making any excuses for yourself anymore in training?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. What we did before, we would just show up and we'd make it up every day, just wing it, So now it's a little bit different because I show up and it's a pretty, most of the workouts are pretty challenging. You can find something in it every day to challenge yourself with. And absolutely, I don't have any debate about what I'm going to do. You just do it. It's so much easier than having to generate all of that kind of willpower on your own. You just get carried along by the program to a large extent. But I also have to say I have been a lot more disciplined about my diet. In this new kind of training regimen, I was burning a lot more calories, so I've dropped a bunch of weight. I've probably dropped 20 pounds since last spring. So, when they took the suits away, I thought I'd never have that feeling in the water again. But I was really surprised this summer at Nationals. I felt just like I had a suit on. It was fantastic. So that really was encouraging. Because, that feeling of super low resistance, being slippery in the water, feeling kind of like a fish is what I loved about those suits. And so when they took them away, it was kind of tough. So it's a cool thing to be able to have that feeling again.
Do you think also part of it was that, especially for breaststrokers, the high-tech suits made you swim differently? You had most of the people pretty much changed their strokes radically because of the buoyancy that they had. And then when they took the suits away, a lot of people had trouble rediscovering their strokes. Now, as you said, you've been kind of trying to get back to that level that you were in before. Do you think it just took you a couple of years to really get back into the kind of stroke that made you feel comfortable again?
You know, I never felt like it was the buoyancy that was the big benefit. It was the slipperiness, the low resistance, which was the glide. You know, could get so much distance per stroke, and distance off of the pullouts without any effort. And, you know, it's just an amazing kind of feeling. It was easier, I think, with the suit to work on technique, to work on body position, high hips, that kind of thing. It just made swimming easier. There's no question. The key for me to get to that point where I can do that now was training. I just had to be fit. Had to lose some weight, lower resistance in other ways just by being trimmer and being fit enough to be able to sustain that kind of effort. You know, with breaststroke, it's completely counterintuitive, as you know. I mean, everything about it is counterintuitive. Where you put the effort, where you relax. I'm finally getting to the point where I'm trying to mimic what the young guys are doing. They're really quick in the front. You know, there's a lot of effort in the throw with the upper body. And that takes strength. It takes, fitness to be able to do that and to sustain it. So I can do it for a little while. I hit it now and then, but that's really what I'm working on. If you look at Kevin Cordes, he's super quick on top of the water. And then there's a glide, but it's not a kind of slow motion pull. It's, there's no messing around. He's putting a lot of energy into that dive forward.
Yeah, breaststroke is always changing.
You look at his stroke count, it's unbelievable. He took 4 strokes on the first 25 of a 51-1. And he was 3 strokes, 4 strokes on his 200, and then built it up the last 50. But 4 strokes going 150 point.
Yeah, exactly. I was there in the building, and I didn't have words for it either.
Unbelievable. And the guys around him are the best. I mean, they're amazing to watch, too. You can learn from every one of those guys,
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just a different animal. We just haven't seen anything like him before.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You're an architect by trades, what you do for a living. Have you been asked, or do you ever have any kind of goals of designing a swimming pool?
I would love to design a swimming pool. Yeah, it's something I think about for sure. I just kind of have to wait for the right opportunity, or any opportunity, really. I'm on the board at the Dad's Club now, and we're working on new facilities, kind of redoing what we have and adding some new facilities. But I can't really, there's a limit to what I can do in that situation because I'm on the board, kind of a conflict of interest situation. But I'm at least able to hopefully influence the process, kind of guide them through what a successful project looks like.
Well, maybe anybody watching this show now in need of a pool will probably be giving you a call.
I hope so. I would love to work on one.
Well, you definitely got chlorine in your blood, so that definitely will probably help out a lot. It'll go a long way, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty saturated.
Yeah. David, again, congratulations on a great weekend. Three individual world records. It's something that definitely a lot of people are really jealous of, especially me. I mean, it's one thing to be able to do, like I just do the 50 and the 100, but to be able to do 50, 100, and 200 so well and to continuously do it is a great accomplishment.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, David, we'll see you down the road.
Okay, take care, Jeff.
So that's Masters World Record holder David Guthrie joining us in the Finis Monitor today. And that's going to do it for today's morning swim show. As always, we invite you to keep up with all the latest news on swimmingworld.com, on Facebook, or on Twitter. I'm Jeff Cummings. Thanks for watching.